this guy in this show, it's called Satchmo the Musical. It's actually Broadway bound, 12 people on stage. It really captures, if you know anything about Louis Armstrong, you look at the old videos, or if you're born in the 60s or early 70s and you saw him on all those variety shows when he was still kicking, this guy really captures the vibe. And so does everybody on stage. The costumes, the musicianship is just off the charts. It really makes you feel like you're in the Cotton Club in the 1920s.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Jeff for Chicago Jazz Magazine, ChicagoJazz.com, and welcome to another episode of Around Town. And we are with Ron Onesti. I'm sure many of you know who Ron Onesti is. He is the founder of Onesti Entertainment. He's the president and CEO as well. Of course, he is operating, running, and doing so many incredible things at the Arcada Theater in St. Charles. And recently, within the past few years, he's reopened the Des Plaines Theater, turned that into an entertainment mecca there in the northwest suburbs. Of course, he also does festivals and corporate events, everything else. We could talk all about this, and I will have Ron back on when he is not out on the golf course at a charity event, and we will talk in depth about entertainment business because that's my passion. I know that's his passion, and that's why we're talking today. So, Ron, thanks for taking a few minutes out of the, where are you, like on the fifth fairway over there at the charity golf?
Yeah, on a par 3 thing here. It is a charity golf endeavor today, and we started off pretty bad weather, raining, and we didn't think we'd get it in, but now here we are, and I'm excited to be on your show and with you, Mike. When it comes to all things jazz in Chicago, you're always the name that gets brought up.
Well, I appreciate that. And of course, we're specifically talking about this show that you've got coming up September 10th at the Arcada Theater at 3 p.m. It's Satchmo the Musical, 100th anniversary of the Jazz Age and Louis Armstrong tribute. And that's with Dean Sims, the trumpeter and vocalist, obviously. And I got to say, I mean, I know that he was supposed to be there, and I think it got canceled during the pandemic or something. I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's back for this weekend because it's also the St. Charles Jazz Fest weekend, so it ties in with all the different jazz things that are happening in the St. Charles area. But Ron, Dean Sims looks like Louis Armstrong back. Like, it's incredible. He looks like him and he sounds like him, and the band sounds great. So talk a little bit about the show.
Well, I could tell you, Mike, it's really something, especially these days when the real people, you want to call them, are passing away or retiring. These tribute artists are getting to be better and better and better. And this guy in this show, it's called Satchmo the Musical. It's actually Broadway bound, 12 people on stage. It really captures, if you know anything about Louis Armstrong, you look at the old videos, or if you're born in the 60s or early 70s and you saw him on all those variety shows when he was still kicking, this guy really captures the vibe. And so does everybody on stage. The costumes, the musicianship is just off the charts. It really makes you feel like you're in the Cotton Club in the 1920s.
Well, it's pretty interesting. And I'll tell you what, I think a lot of people know Louis Armstrong, but, when you get into all of his music, everybody knows his music, no matter what genre of music you like. I mean, when you get into A Wonderful World or St. Louis Blues or Saints Go Marching In, I mean, those are just some of the classics. And from looking at some of the videos and looking over everything, he really dialed in the whole era of Louis Armstrong, where he's pulling from all those different eras. And I think there's some duets he does, because obviously he was known for singing with Ella Fitzgerald and so many other vocalists and stuff. So talk a little bit about what people can expect to hear. Obviously, it's going to be an incredible show, but it's also part of the St. Charles Jazz Fest weekend, which you have been a huge supporter of since the initial Jazz Fest weekend back 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, again, the Jazz Weekend in St. Charles has been something that's been growing every year, and we're always proud to be a part of it. This year, really wanted to take advantage of kind of the whole resurgence of the 420s, the second times two, and having this type of a show is something we had a small incarnation, Mike, at our speakeasy at the Club Arcada Speakeasy, and people were blown away. We did it with a 6-piece, and again, the vibe that you get. I mean, this is Louis reincarnated. It's really, really something. And I got to tell you that the feel that you have once you walk into theater. I mean, the vibe of the situation is the fact that, it's the Roaring 20s. Once again, you're walking into a 1920s venue. You're reliving the Jazz Age in the 1920s, like the Cotton Club era. I mean, it really, really takes you back. And if you love anything, you don't have to even be a jazz aficionado. I mean, this is more than jazz. This is more than any one genre. It could be, it's the St. Louis blues. It's a lot of different things all packed in, and you very rarely. It's like we have our silent films there in our 1926 theater. You rarely get that opportunity to really feel what it was like in the 1920s, and we're definitely going to do that this weekend.
Well, and so I'll send everybody over. It's September 10th, 3 p.m. Right. Obviously, everybody go over to arcadalive.com, get tickets. But the great thing is about the St. Charles Jazz Fest, and for those of you that have not been to St. Charles, or if you've thought about going, this weekend, especially if you're a jazz fan, you've got live music happening all throughout the entire city. So this show's at 3 p.m., but there's also shows after this that you can go catch. Alyssa Allgood's performing, Jeremy Kahn, of course, Frank Catalano is playing downtown, all sorts of great performers. And so this ties in great with an afternoon. And Ron, just real fast before I let you go, just talk a little bit about downtown St. Charles, because I can remember being out there when you first took over the theater and redid it, and you were starting to do shows, and the downtown area in St. Charles has just blossomed. It's really blown up in the past, 15 years maybe. And I think a lot of it has with everything you're doing down there at the Arcada, but there's so many great opportunities for people to enjoy entertainment and food down there. Absolutely.
It started really kicking into high gear back in the just before pre-COVID. It really started to kick in into high gear, and then COVID came, and then it happened. But a lot of us in St. Charles took advantage of the time we were closed, did a ton of remodeling, a ton of development down there in downtown St. Charles. If you haven't been to St. Charles in 4 years, 5 years, you will not recognize it. It's really incredible, the amount of venues, the level of venues, the variety of venues, the types of food, the types of music. It really is something to see.
It is. All right. So everybody, September 10th, obviously Sunday at 3 p.m. Of course, Arcada Live. Ron's got so many shows happening out at the Arcada and also at the Des Theater and all of the clubs that are associated with both theaters. I encourage everybody to head over to Onesti, oshows.com, because that has everything on there, and that sends you links back and forth. And Ron, I will let you get back to your golf game. As always, it is great talking to you, and we got to catch up and do a longer interview, because I do want to talk about the music business and all that other great stuff that you have happening, because I think a lot of people would really be interested in learning about all these different facets of the entertainment business, everything you have going on, because you're just all over the place.
Yeah, well, thanks. I wish you the best too, Mike. Hope to see you guys out at Jazz Weekend this weekend in St. Charles. Satchmo the musical this Sunday, 3:00. And tickets are only like $20 or $25. It's really an amazing opportunity.
Well, yeah, I'm going to send everybody over there. And of course, as I always say, I thank everybody for watching, and all the information's on chicagojazz.com as well. And until next time, hopefully I will see somebody out on the scene.